And this is really what I wanted to do. Aunt Cathy, who owns Chick-fil-A, had gone by my house, and I had to resist temptation. He never bent a knee to the Outrage Mob. He didn't capitulate. He didn't surrender his faith. You all remember the story of Dame Cathy? He had given an interview. This was a few years ago, and he just privately told this publication that, yes, he believes in traditional biblical marriage. So did Barack Obama. And for that, he was excoriated. The Outrage Mob, rent a pitchfork store, and rent a torch store. And they keep those people in business, by the way. In fact, they should actually open one here in D.C. Not against regulations. I'd make a lot of money, and I could put it in play on Sunday. But they got really mad that Dame Cathy had done that, and so they decided that Outrage Mob was going to come for Dame Cathy. They were going to shut down Chick-fil-A. They were going to make it to where we couldn't get no chicken sandwiches. And Dame Cathy, he's like, all right. He didn't surrender anything. He forfeited nothing. He gave up nothing. He surrendered nothing. Dual defense of faith and free thought is one of the most powerful and successful defenses in modern Christian and conservative history. He did it without a crossword. He did it without violence. He did it without political operatives. He did it without a PR firm or social media bots or anything else. There's a reason I've mentioned Sons of Thunder. Like I said, I know people are like, you're Dana Loesch, and you're saying we should be kinder to people. That I am Dana Loesch, and I'm saying that you should be kinder to people, should make hair on your arms stand up. I'm from the Ozarks. People take off flip-flops when it's time for business. I think that we are meant to live our lives in such a way that we evangelize without evangelizing. We are supposed to be an example. We are to cause other people to question their lack of faith, or their lack of ethics, or their lack of morals, their lack of integrity. And Cathy of Chick-fil-a, they didn't respond to hate with hate. There was one recorded exchange. Do you all remember this? Because the protesters were going to go visit Chick-fil-A, and they were going to demand free large waters. And then, if denied, the boycotter was going to cite Proverbs 25:21. If your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. And I thought, looking up Bible verses on the cons, that's awesome. The idea was that it was going to take money away from the company. And this took place in Arizona. A man named Adam Smith, who was then 37 years old, and it was at an Arizona Chick-fil-A, and he recorded himself verbally abusing a Chick-fil-A employee. Do y'all remember this video? It was a young woman, her name was Rachel, and he videotapes himself showing up, pulling up in the drive-thru, and he just starts leveling her. And this employee bore the abuse with a pleasant demeanor, still kept a smile. She told Smith that she didn't feel the company was bad and that they serve and value all people, and he continued to harangue her, and each insult verbally, visibly wounded her. You could see her wince, every bar. It was really hard to watch. And then that video was posted online, and the internet does. Smith, at the time, was the CFO of a medical device manufacturer. He took his water, uploaded his video, and instead of receiving accolades, he was hit with a backlash tsunami. Internet sleuths found him. They found where he worked for. He lost his job. He lost his friends. His behavior made it into the press. He became a lead story, and he apologized, but it was too late. He ended up getting condemned by both the right and the left, and when he was unable to get another job, he ended up on food stamps. And he recorded another video of himself. This time he was apologizing to Rachel, who did not want her last name to be publicized, and he said, "I'm sorry for treating you so inhumanely." He says, "I compromised my personal integrity." He goes, "While I might not agree with everyone's views, I want to treat the other person with respect, and I did not do that to you." But it didn't matter to the Outrage Mob, because you get what's coming to you. Except this Outrage Mob was conservative. And I was part of it. I sighed very silently. And Barney asked if she forgave Smith. And she says, quote, "I did forgive Adam Smith. I think he realizes how bad of a decision it was for him to make that tape. I feel really sorry for him and his family. It's not about Chick-fil-A, but about how one human being should treat another. And she said, I'm glad that I can be an example of how we should serve each other. And she noted how Smith's issue was with the corporation, not the people. And she said that she had good training and a good upbringing. And asked if she was tempted to give back as good as she got, she replied, oh, sure, he was looking for me to react poorly. It's not my personality, and I would never do anything hateful in return to someone. Varney praised her. He said, you're a hero. What you did is fantastic. What a great example. And she very humbly replied in one of the most profound sentences, quote, I'm just a service worker doing my job. She ended with a response that she made to Smith. She says, I forgive you. And I really hope that America will forgive you and treat you with the same respect that I chose to treat you with that day. Smith wanted a bad reaction, and Rachel didn't give him one. She didn't. Who do you think left more of an impression on that man's heart? Rachel or the people screaming? The doxy and rage-filled individuals who hunted him down and exposed him after his very cruel behavior, don't get me wrong. Or was it the justice service worker who responded in compassion? Some people think that compassion is a weakness. Compassion is the strongest thing you can do. And the reason we have so many people is because we have a lot of weak people out there. Hurt people. And that's what we see. Smith was publicly scorched. The bright side is I think that spiritual growth can come from being humbled sometimes in the same way that controlled burns can help improve the health of a field. Many of us missed a very valuable lesson in Rachel and Adam's exchange because in our zeal to see someone genuinely cruel get theirs, we became more like Adam in our responses to Rachel, the service worker who provided an example for a nation in more ways than one. This is the grace that we have to emulate if we're going to cancel the cancel culture. And we also need one other thing: redemption, reconciliation. We're ever going to come together. Don't deny people a redemptive path. For instance, the murder of Botham Jean and the trial of Amber Geiger, where I live in Dallas. Judge Tammy Kemp, afterwards, everyone saw Grant, Botham's brother, exhibited grace that, to be honest, I think that man, who is a teenager, more mature in his faith than me. And the forgiveness that he demonstrated shows that grace and justice can exist. And the Judge Tammy Kemp, got off that stand, and Amber Geiger said, I don't think that I can be forgiven. And the judge gave her her own personal Bible with John 3:16 highlighted, gave her a hug, and said, God loves you, and God forgives. Now, some atheist group vote the judge for that. I would happily do a GoFundMe for that judge, and I will have that judge at 6 for the rest of her life because of that example that woman gave. Thank you, Judge Kemp, for living your faith. Thank you for showing that grace and justice can exist. Ellen DeGeneres, you had it right when you said to be kind to everyone. The command God gives most frequently in the Bible is what? To love one another. To treat people like you want to be treated. Behavior, and hear me, everybody on the right and the left, behavior that is in disobedience of this command is sinful and it sits in judgment of God's will. Fight me on that. Change my mind. You won't. It is disobedience for sure. It is sinful. It's not cool to be kind. It's cool to be tough. It's cool for the clickbait. It's cool to jump out there and fight with people and scream with people and get those views and go viral. And then in a few months, someone else gets out there and they get those views and they go viral. And then it happens over and over and over again. But does anything ever change? No. We just keep being driven further and further apart. And I question the motive of those individuals. And what is the point? If we're not convincing people, if we are not winning souls for the kingdom, if we're not changing hearts and minds, what is the point? There is a time for fury. There's a time for outrage. Slavery was an outrage. When we see people treated horrifically, that is the time for outrage. Outrage is not a tactic to be used every day. It is an expression against something so unbelievably heinous that that is the only thing the soul can do. With all due respect to the great Johnny Rotten Anger is an energy, yes, but it is also a weakness. I'm going to end on this. I think maybe perhaps in faith, I've been in this for a very long time. I've done radio for 10 years now. I've done activism for longer. And as my children get older, you start to see things through their perspective. And I was really seeing what a very unkind political world we were shaping. And I thought, well, that's not very cool, especially since my kid's going to be able to out-debate me one day. We got to fix this. And you got to lead by example. You can't compel people. Virtue cannot be forced. You cannot compel people. You have to follow the ultimate blueprint. Christ never coerced anybody. He compelled them with his example. That is our blueprint. That's the grace we should have. We have to convince people to follow, convince people with the merit of our argument and with our example. And sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes it's very satisfying to be as ignorant as you get it. But it goes against your stated objective. Strength is grace. Outrage should not be used every day because it burns the person who uses it most often. And remember, virtue cannot be coerced. We're all here because this is the Value Voters Summit. And our value should be grace and reconciliation and to follow the example that has been put before us by living a life so amazing that people are convinced to question their path and follow ours. God bless you.
Journey that we've been on, what has struck home with me is the fact that there's so many people that are on our side, that you should be able to share ideas with other human beings without fear of being fired from your job or kicked off a campus or shouted down.
Anybody who comes to speak to you and you disagree with, you should have an argument with them. But you shouldn't silence them by saying you can't come because I'm too sensitive to hear what you have to say.
I'm wondering, how do you propose that we as the future of America can begin to actually fight against these challenges?
How do we turn the tide, Dennis?
So the way out is start saying what you believe. I know that sounds so simple.
There are many, many people out there who are similarly feeling silenced. Find courage and speak.
I really don't regret anything that I said or anything that I did, because I know that the names that I've been called around campus really aren't true and that they really don't define me. That I can be and I should be who I am. And I know that I did the right thing in love and respect and in truth.
If you truly are not racist, if you're not a bigot, if you're not a homophobe or any of these other nonsensical buzzwords, if you're none of those things, you'll realize the water isn't so cold when you jump into the pool.
All the good intentions in the world amount to nothing without one thing. It is the single most important thing in doing good on planet Earth: courage. You cannot do good if you are afraid of being attacked. But the first thing is to decide, I will be courageous.
Tonight's concert featuring Dennis Prager kicked off a couple of hours ago, but it looks like a planned boycott of the event has backfired. I'm told that inside the concert hall, there's not one empty seat. It's a total sellout.
Hard to deal with all that love. It is actually, I hope you know. Thank you all for coming. I've seen the world. I've been abroad every single year since I was 20. This uniqueness of America, the so what? So you're a Turk and you're a Jew, you're a this and you're a that. It doesn't matter. Why? Because we celebrate the human, not the group.
America was built on ideas. And I built a living for myself talking about ideas. The only way we separate the good ideas from the bad ideas is to be free to say whatever we want about them. We're not all going to agree, but that's what makes us individuals, and we can't lose that. Because this car is too much fun to drive.
America's not perfect. Liberty's not easy. It's not always comfortable. But liberty is the flame that lights the path of human progress, and we find our way by raising our voices in debate and dissent. For ideas, for disagreement, for being who you want to be, America is the true safe space.